carpenter and an engineer, whose knowledge of tools, how to construct a building in the smallest detail, and the justice and loyalty he showed to those who hired him and to those who worked for him, were all part of his character. As the oldest of his many brothers and sisters, he learned the virtues of tenacity and obedience from an early age, and he strove to teach my dad and his 5 brothers and sisters these same virtues. At his parish, he repaired anything that he could fix, and he built anything that the pastor needed. When I was 8 years old, my grandpa was diagnosed with a malignant tumor in his brain. My parents did their best to prepare Michael, my younger brother by 2 years, and I, for his probable death. Every week, as we drove to Mass, we always prayed for the healing of my grandfather, and my parents made sure to finish every prayer with the words, "May your will be done." It was God's will that my grandpa died on January 10th of 1995, as I held his hands while he lay in his bed at home. Accepting that it was God's will that my grandfather should die was hard for me. I often cried, and even now, 16 years later, I still miss him. But as he taught my dad, so my dad and mom taught my brothers and me that obedience to God must be constant, especially when it's hard. Growing up, my parents told me to do the right thing, to be kind and loving, to be faithful, attentive and diligent, and they convinced me by their example. Growing up, seeing the love between my parents and between their parents, my grandparents, the dedication of my parents to each other through the good and the hard times, and to my brothers and myself, all impressed upon me the desire to have a loving relationship with God and to freely obey Him. I am very blessed that I grew up in a secure, strong, and loving home. When I was 12 years old, I told my parents that I wanted to be a priest. Thanks be to God for my parents. They never pressured me to be a priest, nor did they ever tell me how disappointed they would be that they would not have grandchildren. Mijo, they said, mijo is Spanish for my son. Wherever God calls you, you must go. And all we can do is whatever we can to help you follow His path. They've done so much more than just help me. They've loved me. They've sacrificed so many of their dreams for myself and my 2 brothers, Michael, who is 22, and Gabriel, who is 9. My brothers and I know that we are loved because my parents showed us in their words and in their deeds. My dad worked very long days and often long nights. My mom made sure our house is a home. They disciplined us and set clear rules. If we broke them, we knew we were going to be punished. And the reason, "But all the other guys' moms are letting," was never a good one. Life wasn't a walk in the park. Although that call to be a priest remained constant, I struggled, and still do, to be a good Catholic. In grade school and in high school, although my classmates never made fun of me for wanting to be a priest, I longed to not be the outsider, to go to parties and to do what everyone else was doing. As I looked for university, I wanted one where my faith would be invigorated and my mind would be challenged. I'd always enjoyed reading books, so when I found the University of Dallas, it far surpassed my expectations. Along with the incredibly rigorous academic semester in Rome, I formed friendships of a lifetime with my classmates and my professors. While pursuing truth and falling in love with the heritage of the West, I met the Dominican order. Since high school, I'd wanted to teach. And I met a Dominican priest who not only taught, but celebrated the sacraments and was the director of the volunteer programs for campus ministry. Meeting the Dominican novices of the southern province invigorated me as well. Some of them gave up very successful careers for the vow of obedience, and yet they were overjoyed. This combination of seeking, knowing, teaching, and living the truth in love is what I found in the Dominicans. And I hope that my life will be one that brings people closer to God, so that I can say to him when I am ready to die, may your will be done.